Should you want to buy it, you would need to wait 2 years. Is this watch worth it? This is the Helm Miyako. Introduced a couple of years ago, Helm's latest model, the Miyako, marked an almost radical departure from the technical divers the American microbrand became famous for. Sure, the diving capabilities of the watch continued to align to Helm's mission, but possibly because the 1950s inspired looks were all the rage at the moment of its conception, Matt Cross seemingly decided to throw as many stylistic cues reminiscent of the era as possible at a watch that, in my opinion, ended up looking disjointed and lacking identity. So, how do I feel about this watch? I'll tell you all about it after introducing you to the fascinating process that is ordering a Helm. Heading down to their website, it soon becomes apparent that there's no Add to Cart button on any of their model subsections. That's because you need to earn the right to see that button, and the first step is to register your interest. You do that by filling in the form below, and as soon as you finish this simple task, you're rewarded with being able to see how many people will get to buy the watch before you do. Let's try that, shall we? Well, now that we have this information and knowing the output is set to be roughly 150 watches a month, we can calculate how much time we have to wait before having the chance to buy this watch. Roughly 2 years. That's a lot? Well, no, not really, as the Miyako is the least popular timepiece in the roster. Should you try buying one of their other models, it would add at least a couple of years more to the wait. So, did I spend almost 800 days waiting for my turn? Hell no! Besides the pre-owned market, there are a couple of ways to get your Miyako, and I will talk about them later. For any watch collector, a quick glance at this watch will reveal its main two sources of inspiration, the JLC Polaris and the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. However, turning the Miyako sideways reveals the unmistakable high-polished arch of the Seiko SKX. There's really not much to talk about here aside from dimensions, but even those fail to tell the whole story. We're talking 40.5mm width, but the overhanging bezel adds 1 full mil to that. We're talking a very compact 47mm lug-to-lug distance, but the bracelet's male end links take the effective length to over 50mm. At least the 22mm lugs are drilled, so you can discard the stiff strap it comes with and put it on the bracelet in a jiffy. The caseback is perhaps my favorite part of the watch. It does a great job of replicating the dial's tsunami waves pattern, and it does it while adding detail to it. The logo is very sharp from a visual standpoint, but it does not interfere with the experience of wearing the watch. Under the screwed down plate, there's a Miyota 9015 caliber sweeping at 28,000 pph. The crown is as comfortable to operate as it's beautiful and original. The 120-click unidirectional rotating bezel thickness and the bulbous sapphire insert gives it the unmistakable life preserver shape made famous by Blancpain's 50 fathoms model. Unlike the Swiss legend, the markings on Miyako's bezel only overlap at the 6 o'clock position with the hour markers. The knurling pattern is the same, though it being polished makes it operating more difficult than it should. Moving on to the dial, the 3-volume structure should appeal to me as I'm a fan of the dynamic character resulting from combining textures and depth. The steep rehaut is dotted with minute markers and slopes towards a brushed ring that hosts blocky indexes and elegant numerals at the cardinal points. All applied, filled with old radium C3 lume, they provide outstanding legibility in tandem with the wedged-shaped minutes and hour hands. Speaking of the hands, while the minute indicator moves in the ring dedicated to functionality, the hour hand is confined inside the decorative 3rd volume of the dial. Characterized by the subtle etching of the aforementioned tsunami pattern, this recessed area is used for the printing of the Helm logo and the 2 lines of text containing the model's name and the all-important indication of this watch being ISO certified for diving. The second hand has a red tip that's microns shy of scraping against the minute markers and ends in a circular counterbalance that does a decent job of framing the logo every 60 seconds. Just in case you haven't noticed, there's a small porthole-shaped cutout between 4 and 5 where the very well color-matched date disc makes full use of the Miyota 9015's date complication. The initial lume output is quite a sight to behold, particularly with the logo being highlighted, but the notoriously lack of longevity of the old radium means the fading happens quite fast and, unfortunately, in patches that show the lack of uniform application. The Miyako is delivered on a stiff NATO strap that does little to compensate for the heavy head of the watch, and a very tough looking bracelet that's relatively easy to size due to the appropriate size screwdriver being supplied. The oysterish style of the bracelet has nothing in common with the dial or the case. Rudimentary, thick and heavy, this accessory lacks the elegance the head of the watch would warrant and does not belong near a watch that costs $400 plus tax. Also, one particular aspect of my personal shopping experience is that I feel cheated because of a notable omission on the Helm website. Watching reviews of the Miyako, I noted the clasp it came with was a puny 2 micro adjustments hole affair that, combined with the large links, made most reviewers unable to get a good fit. As a consequence, I spent an extra $20 on a clasp that turned out I have no use for, as Helm, without notice, decided to upgrade the initial clasp to this one. An upgrade, sure, but an upgrade that ended up costing me. Speaking of cost, let's go back to the other 2 ways of jumping the queue to getting a Helm. First one relies purely on luck, as every once in a while the company organizes lotteries allowing 50 lucky persons to buy straight away. I was amongst the winners of such a lottery, so I can vouch for it. The other method to getting a Helm without spending years in the list limbo is to join the Helm's fans' official Facebook group. I was initially quite surprised to see how many people would magnanimously give away their top spots on the waiting lists for various models. I would say 10 a week. I continue respecting Helm as a brand, and I'm still on the list to getting their other models too. However, as stating in the thumbnail, I think this watch is underwhelming. It tries too much and the end result is just not really sure what it really is. So you can add a fourth way of getting a Miyako right now. Shoot me an email and make me an offer. I really need the money to buy other watches in my perennial quest to find the watch I want.